So I don't know, Mataji, if you have given the introduction regarding the Gajendra Moksha that we are going to do.
No, Mataji, I'm not giving the introduction. You can start, Mataji.
Okay, sounds good. So today Wednesday, and then next following week Wednesday, and then following week Wednesday. So 3 Wednesdays, we will spread out this session of the story of Gajendra Moksha. So this story is in Shrimad Bhagwatam in 8th canto, and it is spreaded out in 3 chapters, and that's why we wanted to take the 3 sessions to cover 1 chapter in each of the sessions. So this is one of the very, very important story. So all the stories are very sweet nectar in Shrimad Bhagwatam. Entire Shrimad Bhagwatam is it's called the Vangmay Swarup, means the sound incarnation. Sound incarnation. Swarup means the incarnation. So sound incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna himself. So which is not different from the Lord. So that's why, Bhagavan, we also call this Bhagavat. So Shrimad Bhagwatam is very potent. Of our entire Shrimad Bhagwatam 10th canto, where Lord Sri Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan are there, and his reciprocation with the Brajabasis and the Nanda Baba, Yashoda, and Mother Yashoda, and all his friends, Gopas and Gopis, is very, very special. But amongst the other cantos, there are various devotees who have, have had this sweet reciprocation with the Lord, and then in all those stories, the devotees have offered prayers to the Lord. So in Shrimad Bhagwatam, there are various prayers offered by those devotees to the Lord. And of those prayers, Gajendra Moksha is one of the very, very important prayers. So once this question was asked to His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj, that Maharaj, out of so many prayers in Shrimad Bhagwatam, which one should we recite or learn, or which one we should connect? Of course, all the prayers are very beautiful, describing the glories of the Lord and the reciprocation of the Lord with the devotees. But of all those, Maharaj said, Gajendra Moksha. So that is the prayer, and that is the story. So today we'll cover the story. Next Wednesday we will do the prayers, and then following Wednesday, the 3rd chapter amongst those 8th canto, we will do the conclusion of all this episode of Gajendra. So we will start today. So that was just a quick, brief introduction of Gajendra Moksha story that we are going to learn today. It's one of the very, very important stories in Shrimad Bhagwatam, and the prayers are very, very important. So let's get started. Here, let me start. So, good story of Gajendra Moksha, which is saying that God is my anchor. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we'll start with the Mangalacharan first. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuron Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena
Bhutale
Swayam Rupa
Kadamayyam Tadati Padantikam
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So you're all hopefully able to see my screen. So we'll start here. The story of Gajendra. So before the story of Gajendra, actually we will talk about a little background to the story. So two little stories, they're connected, and then we'll get into the actual story of Gajendra. So one of that is regarding the Gandharva named Huhu, who was cursed by Devala Muni to become a crocodile. So let's listen what happened there. So there was this king on the Gandharva planet whose name was Huhu. Then once this Gandharva king Huhu was enjoying in the waters, he was just having a good time there. And then there comes one rishi or one sage. His name was Devala Rishi. At that time, Devala Rishi came in. It was the midday, and he came to take bath, and he was chanting the Gayatri in the waters. And at that time, while he was meditating on his Gayatri mantra, this Gandharva king named Huhu, this Gandharva, he pulls the leg of the sage just to make a trouble there for a rishi. And Rishi quite didn't like it, and he became very angry with it. And then he immediately cursed him to become a crocodile. Now, because he was acting like that, why did Sage curse him to become a crocodile? Because crocodiles usually come under the water and then they kind of pull you in. So the act made him think of that, and then he said, may you become like that only, because it was really, really not a good thing to do that. And so then this king Huhu or Gandharva Huhu was very sorry with the curse that he received, and he begged forgivences from the sage. And then he said that, oh, sage, please be compassionate to me. And then sage said, well, you have to take that form as a crocodile. But then out of compassion, sage also gave him a benediction. And that benediction was that he shall become freed when Gajendra was delivered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he said, thus you will also be delivered by the Lord himself, Lord Narayan. So now there's mention here about when Gajendra will become free. So let's see who is Gajendra now. So Gajendra, another second story in the background to the same story was there was a king Indradumna. And so this is not the Indradumna that was in Jagannath Puri. This is a different king who was in the South province. He was very, very pious king. He had some of the very good qualities, like he had detachment. He he was, although he was a king, but he ruled to his subjects or to his kingdom with no attachment to them. He honestly served them, and he was very austere. He used to do a lot. He used to perform a lot of tapasyas in terms of, being a king. They have so much opulences, but he was not attached to the people subjects. He was not attached to the objects of senses. So he was a very austere king, and he used to engage in the worship, the perfect worship. He was fully engaged in worshiping the Lord, um, and he was very self-controlled. So, in short, he was a very, very pious king. So this pious king once a sage comes to him, and then he says, King Indradyumna, you have ruled your entire life. Now, see, and just try to understand that these sages come when when there is um, when there is some kind of reciprocation between the Lord. It was actually the Lord who inspired the sage to go to this king and ask for something. So the sage comes to King Indradyumna and asks for, um, "O king, we would like to receive something from you." And then king says, "Yes, please tell me, what should I give you? What would you like to have? Please ask me." And then the sage says that, "What can you give?" And then this king Indradyumna says, "Well, whatever you want, I will give you. You want the you want my kingdom, I can give you that," because he was very detached king, right? He said, "If you want my kingdom, I can give you that. If you want any things, I would give you that." He said, "Well, the kingdom, it doesn't really belong to you. You are serving the king, the subjects here, so you are actually serving them. It doesn't really belong to you." He said, "I can give you anything. I can give you my body." He said, "That also doesn't belong to you." And that's true, right? Nothing belongs to us in this world. We come here for a short time to the lifespan that we have been awarded. We go through this karma cycle. We get whatever we have been awarded by the destiny, by the province of the destiny, and then we move on, right? So we give back everything, whatever we have. We give back our houses, our people, our assets. What to say of everything else? We give back. When we leave, we give back even our bodies, right? So the sage is saying nothing really belongs to you. Then he said, "Okay." Then he's going internal and he's saying, "What can I give you?" That's true what the sage was saying. And he said that, "Give me your pride." So although he was very pious king, but somewhere he had that tinge. And then the sage says that, "Give me that pride that you have, that you are a king and you're ruling." And then he realizes, yes, he needs that purification, that he had been thinking that he was the king and, although very pious king, but he wanted to get free from that contamination also. So then this king thinks of, okay, let me go to the forest and let me renounce everything now, and the rest of the life, let me meditate on the Supreme Lord and leave my body in that way, so that if that becomes a cause of my purification, in attempt to purify himself. So that's what happens. The king leaves to the forest, and then he meditates there on the Lord, on the Paramatma in the heart. And then by um, so these are all arrangements. Whoever is dear to the Lord takes complete charge, right? We learned that in Bhagavad Gita. And so this was actually somehow the arrangement of the Lord. So there comes, while this king Indradyumna, who had now turned into a very austere kind of sage when he was just meditating internally from long time, and there comes another sage named Agastya Muni. So he comes and he was passing by, and because this king was so much absorbed in his meditation, he did not notice that Agastya had arrived there. And then he just continues to do his meditation, and then Agastya Muni, he realizes that he is a king, and he is supposed to be the protector of Brahmanas. He is supposed to respect Brahmanas, and what kind of example is he setting? But actually, that was no fault of the king, because he was totally absorbed in the meditation. And then this sage Agastya, he gets angry at this behavior, and then he curses him, and he curses him to become an elephant, because that's how that's one of the qualities of the elephant, that they are, when they move, they are just in their own so that's in their, they're just thinking of their own thing, because of the way they are, and then the way they carry. So the sage behavior was something similar to that. And then another sage, who is Muni, Agastya Muni, he curses him to become an elephant. And then King Indradyumna, he did not retaliate anything to that, and he accepted the curse very calm, because internally he knew that it was not his fault. He was absorbed totally in the meditation of the Lord, and since it was of his no fault, he did not retaliate, and then he accepted it as a mercy of the Lord. And he said that, well, because it was not my fault, Lord is sure to protect me. He had a very strong faith in that, and that's why he did not retaliate. So this story is mentioned. So these were the two stories, really little bit background about this Gajendra. So this king now comes in the elephant body, and he's called, his name is Gajendra. So these two stories are the background stories to this eighth canto, second chapter of Bhagavatam, where the Gajendra story starts. So the Gajendra story starts now. But now we know who was the crocodile, and which is one of the characters in this story. And then now we know this Gajendra, who is the Gajendra, the elephant. So ultimately, this Gajendra, through his life experiences, comes to the realization that God is his anchor. Once he reaches that stage, he becomes oblivious to the terrible danger he is in, and the pain he's feeling. So we all, should aspire to become like him, because, having a strong faith that, Lord is going to protect. We'll go in deep into the story of Gajendra to find out how he did that. So this session, and then the next session is the prayers of Gajendra. So these two is a two-part. So let's go into this second chapter of 8th canto of Shrimad Bhagwatam. So what I have put here is the verses. So we'll go through this entire second chapter through these verses, and then we can talk about few things, what happened, and how Gajendra got delivered. So here, Shrimad Bhagavatam 8th canto, second chapter, first verse. Shukdev Goswami said, "My dear king," so we know that Shrimad Bhagavatam was spoken by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. So he's telling this story because Parikshit Maharaj was asking, tell me more about this Gajendra story. So Shukdev Goswami is saying, my dear king, there was a very large mountain called Trikuta. It is 10,000 yojanas, means 8,000 miles. So it's a long, 8,000 miles is a long distance, high. And it was the height and the width of the mountain was same. And Trikuta means three. Three means three kuta. So the there were three domes, could you say, or the tops of the mountains, and which were made of gold, silver, and very, very opulent things. So being surrounded by the ocean of milk, it is very beautifully situated. So this is describing the location where this uh, pastime of Gajendra took place, on the mountain of Trikuta. The length and the breadth of the mountains are the same measurement, 8,000 miles. It's three principal peaks. So yeah, so Trikuta means three peaks, which were made of iron, silver, and gold, beautify all the directions in the sky. The mountains also have other peaks, which are full of jewels and minerals and are decorated with the nice trees, creepers, and shrubs. The sound of the waterfall on the mountain creates a pleasing vibration. It is in the way that mountain stands increases the beauty of all direction. So it's a very beautiful place where Gajendra was living. The ground at the foot of the mountain is always washed by the waves of milk and produces emeralds and all around in the eight direction, north, south, east, west, and the direction midway between them. The inhabitant of the higher planets, the Siddhas, the Charanas, the Gandharvas, the Vidyadharas, the serpents, the Kinnars, and Apsaras. So these are all actually the higher beings. So, like we see that there are these different species of, even on the planet Earth, we see different species of life. There are animals, there are reptiles, then there are aquatics, and then there are human beings, then there are birds, right? So in the higher lokas, there are these different kind of jivas who are siddhas. They are called charanas, and then they are gandharvas, then there are vidyadharas, serpents, kinnaras, apsaras. So these higher beings are actually um, they have superpowers, which humans don't have. So they are higher beings than the human beings. um, go to that mountain to sport. So on this mountain, Trikuta, these all higher beings used to come there. Thus, all the caves of the mountains are full of these denizens of heavenly planets. So it was very, very beautiful around. And because of the surrounding vibrations of the denizens of heaven singing in the caves, the lions there, being very proud of their strength, roar and unbearably envy, thinking that another lion is roaring in that way. The valley beneath the Trikuta mountain is beautifully decorated by many varieties of jungle animals and in the trees, which are maintained in the garden by the demigods. Varieties of bird chirp and with the sweet voices. Trikuta mountain has many lakes and rivers with the beaches covered by the small gems resembling the grain of sand. The water is clear as crystal, and when the demigods and damsels bathe in there, their bodies lend fragrance to the water and breeze, thus enriching the atmosphere. So, in short, that this place was very beautiful. You know, all these beautiful things that we just learned, that were described regarding this place. So just try to connect that, everything that we are listening, how does it connect to me, right? Because where we are currently is a beautiful place. Like we have, everything in that a person would need. So this is describing, this is in a sense describing how everything is just a perfect world here. That's how we think. So that's how it is describing it here. In the valley of Trikuta mountain, there was a garden called Ritumat. This garden belonged to the great devotee Varuna. So who is Varuna? Varuna is the demigod of water. So, there is, who is the demigod of fire? Is called Agni Dev, right? Then who is the demigod of air? He's called Pavan Dev. So similarly, the demigod of water is Varun Dev. His name is Varuna. So this belonged to him. Just give me 1 minute here. Okay. So this place belonged to the great devotee Varuna, and he was a sport. This was a sporting place for the damsels and the demigods. Flowers and fruits grew in all seasons among them, where Mandaras, Parijatas, Patalas, Ashokas, and then Champakas, Chutas, Pialas. These are all the names of the flowers. The mangoes, the coconut trees, the pomegranates. These are all the fruits and flowers that were there. There were palm trees, and then there were arjun trees, and all other banyan trees, very auspicious, like sandalwood trees. There were also saralas, suradaras, grapes, sugarcane, banana, jambu, akashas, and amalikas. So very, very good, very nice, and good things were there around. And then in the garden, there was a lake which was shining golden lotus flowers in that. And the flowers, there is name of these flowers, different flowers here. And all, in short, this is describing in this 14th, 19th verses, it was describing the beauty of the lake. So this Gajendra Moksha story happens in this lake where Gajendra comes to drink water. The banks were so abundantly adorned with the varieties of trees and yielded flowers and fruits in all season. Thus, the entire mountain stood glorious and decorated. So then here, Gajendra, who was actually King Indradyumna in his past life, that he took the form of, he had to take the form of an elephant because of the curse. He used to live around this lake, and then he comes here to drink water. So Gajendra enters one time to drink water in the lake. The leader of the elephant who lived in the forest of the mountains, Trikuta, once wandered towards the lake with his female elephant. He broke many plants, creepers, thickets, and trees, not caring for their piercing thorns. Simply by catching the scent of that elephant, all other elephants, the tigers, and the other ferocious animals such as lions, rhinoceros, great serpents, and black and white sharabas fled in fear. So he used to, when he used to come, he, like, elephant is actually a king, right? And the lion is also a king in a way. Elephant is also a king of the forest. So he used to enter like that. This is called the feeling of mud, like, a pride. The camaradeers, so all these animals would flee away in fear. By the mercy of this elephant, animals like foxes, wolves, buffaloes, bears, boars, monkeys, rabbits, and other deers, and many other small animals loitered elsewhere in the forest. They were not afraid of him. Surrounded by the herds of the elephant, including the female, and followed by the young ones. So, this Gajendra, along with his female elephant and his children, small children, young elephants, Gajendra, the leader of elephants, made Trikuta mountain tremble around because of the weight of his body. He was perspiring, liquor dripping from his mouth, and his vision was overwhelmed by intoxication. He was being served by bumblebee who drank honey from the distance, he could smell the dust of the lotus flower, which was carried by the lake by the breeze. Thus surrounded by his associates who were afflicted by the thirst, he soon arrived at the bank of the lake. The king of the elephant entered the lake, bathed thoroughly, and was relieved of this fatigue. So he started drinking water, and then they started playing around in the water. Then, with the aid of his trunk, he drank the cold, clear nectarian water, which was mixed with the dust of the lotus flower and the water lilies, until he was fully satisfied. Like human being who lacks spiritual knowledge is and is too attached to the members of the family, the elephant, being illusioned by the external energy of Krishna, had his wife and children bathe and drink water. So they were all playing. So this is exactly, actually what we all do here. We have nice time. We have our families, we have our friends, we have things to do. And we don't realize that this body is just a temporary body that is being awarded, but then we have to give up these bodies and move on to the other bodies based on the karma that we are doing. So we are trapped in this karma cycle. So this was the same situation this elephant was in. He did not realize now he was a king. So from a king's body coming into an elephant, he was still enjoying that elephant body. Indeed, he raised the water from the lake with his trunk and sprayed all over them. He did not mind of the hard labor involved in this endeavor. So this is exactly what our situation is. We do so much hard work, but it's for what? If until we realize we don't even know who we are, and we do an endeavor for our self purification, and why we are here, and try to understand the eternity, try to connect to the spirit soul, that the spirituality, we are doing the same thing like this elephant was doing. So again, it is one point to repeat again and again. This elephant was a king in his last life. He was a king in Indradyumna. Now turned into an elephant body. He's still enjoying that body. This is exactly what we are doing. We are enjoying in coming into this environment, and then we don't realize who we are. So Gajendra's opulent life, right? Hardworking. And then we also have all these things, right? The responsibilities, the prestige, influence, power, career, wealth, and what are the other things this Gajendra represents here? The intoxication served by the bumblebee, smell of the dust of the lotus flowers. These. So in short, what we are trying, this is the opulent life that he was living. So we also have, so we're trying to connect at every step how this story connects to us. Why are we learning this story? And what do we learn from the story and take a lesson, and how do we apply that in our life? So this opulences of Gajendra is showing us our situation where we are, right? Then what happens one day? By the arrangement of providence, the king, a strong crocodile was a strong crocodile was angry at the elephant. So there was this crocodile in the same waters. This was the crocodile that I told you the story. He was also a Gandharva named Huhu. So this crocodile comes into the same lake where Gajendra is. So both of them, the crocodile and the elephant, both of them had the very pious lives in their previous life. Gandharva is a higher being than the human being. He was a Gandharva in the higher planets, and then King Indradyumna was a king. So now, by the arrangement of providence, because of the curse, they have turned into an elephant and a crocodile. By the arrangement of providence, the king, O king, a strong crocodile was angry at this elephant because he was making so much noise, and he was, showering water everywhere. So this crocodile gets angry at this elephant, and he attacks the elephant's leg in the water. The elephant was certainly strong, and he tried his best to get free from this danger sent by the providence. So, what does this teach us? So, having this opulent life that Gajendra had, we also similarly, we're trying to connect with Gajendra's situation to us, right? What happens in our life when there is a calamity, right? So this episode of this pastime of crocodile attacking Gajendra is representing what? It's representing the calamity that Gajendra comes into. And nobody's lives, it's not that every person would have a very smooth life. We also see ups and downs in our lives, right? So how do we react in those calamities? So this is representing the calamity. Then thereafter, seeing Gajendra in that grave condition, his wives felt very, very sorry and began to cry. The other elephants wanted to get help uh, Gajendra, but because the crocodile's great strength, they could not rescue him from the grasping him from behind. So this is what we do, right? We defend ourselves. So what is this representing? This is representing the defense that we have. We adhere to when there are calamities. We try to defend those, right? So Gajendra tried every best possible thing to save himself. Then the other elephants around him, they wanted to save Gajendra, but this crocodile was very strong, and he pulled him inside. O king, the elephant and the crocodile fought in this way. So then they had a big fight, and now Gajendra was pulled right in the middle of the waters by by this crocodile. And then there was a big fight amongst them. This fight went on for 1,000 years, pulling one another in and out of the water for 1,000 years. Upon seeing the fight, the demigods were very surprised. So here we have to understand that 1,000 years means there is some relativity of the time. We've learned that earlier. How time is relative, different in different locus have different time aspects. So this is exactly what it is explaining here, that for long, long time, we are also facing, we have this opulent life, then the calamities come in our life, we try to defend, and then we struggle with those situations, right? So this is representing the struggle. Gajendra's struggle is actually representing how we also struggle when we have the calamities. It's also teaching us importance of being situated in our natural position, right? Because that's not our natural position, is it? Should we be living in fear? Should we be like stressed out with all the situations that we have? Sometimes we are sick, sometimes we have bad health, we struggle with time, we have this worries and anxieties and uh, you know stress, bills, payments, headaches, tiredness, right? So what are all these are the struggles that we go through in our life. What to say of calamity? Even our regular life represents the same kind of struggles that this is not our natural position. Was that position of Gajendra being caught in the mouth of the crocodile, was that a natural position for Gajendra? He was a king. It was not a natural position for Gajendra. And similarly, this is not the natural position for us if we understand who we really are. Are we these bodies? Krishna teaches us in Bhagavad Gita, we are not these bodies. So all the struggles that come into our lives based on the body, those are the same struggles that we are learning here. That's unnatural. So Gajendra's story, we are trying to connect at every step. We are trying to connect how does its story connects to us, right? So the struggles that we are going through because of having this body, Why was Gajendra having that struggle? Because he had an elephant body. Was he an elephant? Really? He was a king in the past life, right? He had cursed to become an elephant. But because he had an elephant body, he was going through all this. He had a calamity, he defended, and then he was struggling with that. So this struggle was because of having that body of elephant. Same thing applies to us. The struggles that we are facing is because we have this body that is very unnatural to our own self. We are the spirit souls. So it's representing the same kind of struggles that we have. And then thereafter, being because of being pulled into the water and fighting for many long years, the elephant became diminished in his mental, physical, and sensual strength. The crocodile, on the contrary, became, being an animal of the water, increased in enthusiasm, physical strength, and sensual power. So, what is the result? So, this is representing, this situation of Gajendra is representing the result, right, of all that struggle we have. We become, our lives become degraded, right? Diminishes our mental power, our physical strength. By the age, also the physical strength decreases anyway, right? So because of all the stress that we are it affects our capability, right? The stresses, that all the struggles that we go through, it brings our abilities down. So the result of all this struggle, hard work, and this Gajendra situation teaches us that, how we actually, who are us eternal beings, being caught up into these bodies, we go through so much struggle, and then how we our capability diminishes. Then, when the king of the elephants saw that he was under the clutches of the crocodile by the will of providence, and being embodied and circumstantially helpless, could not save himself from the danger, he was extremely afraid by being killed. He consequently thought for a long time, and finally he reached to the following decision. So then, you know, he took a look inward, right? He paused, he began to think that nothing is saving him. His strength has become weak. His denizens, who were his female elephant, his children, although he was protector of all entire family, but now nobody was able to save him. And he himself had become weak, so he's taking this moment to see what was going on, and that this was called a moment of self-awareness. He's trying to understand really what is going on. And then, what realization he comes to. So the next verse here, the other elephant, who are my friends, the relatives, could not rescue me from this danger. What then to speak of my wife? They cannot do anything. It is by the will of providence that I have been attacked by this crocodile, and therefore I shall seek shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always the shelter of everyone, even of the great personalities. So Gajendra finally takes a moment to think, and then he's going inward. He's trying to realize, and then he comes to this realization that nothing in this world is capable of rescuing him. His family, his children, his friends, nothing was there that could save him. He was a king also. Okay, if he was, even though he was an elephant, he was king of the elephants. So, did his position save him? Although he was a king of elephants, did that position save him? So similarly, how does this realization of Gajendra teach us? What does it teach us? How does it connect to us? Do you think if when we are in such calamity where anything in this world could be our savior, our careers, our ability, our beauty, our family, friends, our assets, money, they can save us from certain calamities in the life. But what about the time when we have to leave the body, when we have to face death? What about that? Would these people save us from that? It's the harsh reality of the life, right? Everybody has to leave the body. Will our families save us from that? Will our jobs and careers will save us from that? With the money and the ability that we have will save us from that? Or any capability that we have, skills that we have, would that save us from that? No. So this is teaching us that, the ultimate calamity, when it is such a situation, who is our savior? So who is my shelter in difficult times? So Gajendra, um, he comes to this realization, it's actually nobody can save, nothing, our social status, or just things that Gajendra had with his position and his people, nothing could save him. And so trying to connect from the crocodile side also. Now, what does the crocodile represent? When we are connecting the entire story to us, like we are in the same situation, that we have this struggles in the life because of assuming this human body, and we understand that we are understanding that we are this human bodies. What about our surroundings? So the surroundings that we are in, Gajendra was in the surrounding of the crocodile's teeth, right? So the surroundings that we are in, that represents the crocodile, right? They're attacking us, right? So the characteristics of a crocodile, to attack, right? So crocodile here is compared to what? To the Maya. Material world is ugly because it is separate from Krishna. Only a she crocodile finds a he crocodile, attracts and cheaters and the cheat. So, like crocodile's big mouth, right? And the silent attacks, many teeth. We get different kinds of, uh, you know, calamities in the life that represents the different teeth of the crocodile, right? So, what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita, right? Mama Maya Duratyaya. The divine energy of mind consists of three modes of material nature. It is very difficult to overcome. So Gajendra was also in the same situation. It was very difficult for him to overcome. But what does Krishna say in the very next line here? But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond that. So this was actually the realization that Gajendra had, that nothing was saving him. His ultimate shelter was Lord. Now there could be a question that how did Gajendra have, he was an animal. How could he think about, how does he know the Lord? So actually the answer to that is Lord Krishna says himself, right? If you have led a spiritual life, if you have led, a life of devotion, then I provide the intelligence by which you can come to me. So Krishna provides that intelligence, and Krishna also in another verse says that I preserve what you have and I carry what you lack, right? That's another shloka that we have learned in Bhagavad Gita. So by actually in being in that moment of that realization and awareness, going deeper inside, he remembered everything from his past life. Gajendra remembered everything from his past life, that how he was a king, how he led such a nice pious life, just because he needed some purification, he had a little pride that, Krishna wanted to remove that pride from him. He was put into this situation where he comes to this realization, actually, it is our only shelter is the Lord. So Gajendra comes to that realization, and that all that realization that Gajendra comes to is actually the mercy of the Lord, because Lord promises that in Bhagavad Gita, that I preserve what you have. So he remembered everything from his past life. So our need to control. So how does this connect to us, right? Another shloka Krishna teaches in Bhagavad Gita, that this place that we are in, it's dukhalaya ashashvatam, right? After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary place. So Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, this place that we are currently in, is that our permanent house? Is that our permanent place to be in? No, this is the temporary place, right? So Krishna is teaching us that this what is it called? Dukhalayam. Dukhalayam means where you get the dukha. And ashashvatam. Ashashvatam means where shashvat means permanent, and ashashvatam means temporary, because we all have to leave the bodies and move on, right? So this place of temporary and place of miseries, Krishna is saying that one who attains me do not come to this temporary place, which is full of misery. Another shloka from Bhagavad Gita, how much more this is so for the righteous brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary place, miserable, again Krishna is saying in the same thing, that this place is temporary and miserable world, engage in the loving service unto me. And we are trying to do the same, we are trying to go through the same struggle, right? It's like the struggle of, we are not these bodies, but we are trying to fit into this as being, considering that this is permanent place. But none of this place is permanent. And in what to say of the place, not even our bodies are permanent to us. So we are trying to fit into something that we are not. So how is this struggle? It's like, you have a round hole, but you're trying to fit in a square thing. It is going to be struggleful, right? So this is exactly what Gajendra's story teaches us, that we are here into this place which is temporary. It's full of miseries, and we are trying to go through these struggles that Gajendra is going through. And so we have to free ourselves from here. And how did Gajendra free himself? By taking the shelter of the Lord. So he comes to that realization right now, that, so as we learned, that he comes to this realization, he remembers all his past life. So the next shloka, and this is the last shloka from this chapter. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly not known to everyone, but he who is very powerful and influential. But he is very powerful and influential. Therefore, although the serpent of the eternal time, which is fearful in the force, endless, chases everyone, ready to swallow him. If one who fears this serpent seeks shelter of the Lord gives him protection. From even death runs, for even death runs away from the fear of the Lord. I therefore surrender unto him, the great, powerful, supreme authority who is actually the shelter of everyone. So now this is Gajendra's realization. He says that, what is it saying? That although not a lot of people understand that Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate shelter, but he comes to that realization, and he's saying that therefore, although the serpent of time, right, the time is clicking. Does the time stop? No, the time goes on, and then we were what certain age at certain last year, and then we are 1 year plus next year, then plus next year. That's how our whole life passes by. So this time is clicking on us, and then there comes the ultimate time where we have to leave the shelter. We have to leave these bodies, right? So he's saying that if no one fears the serpent, uh, if one who fears the serpent of death seeks the shelter of the Lord gives him protection, because we are the eternal beings, right? This is our unnatural position, just like Gajendra's position was unnatural position to be in that elephant body. And then he understands that, Supreme Personality of Godhead is his only shelter, and he surrenders onto the Lord. And thus, the great and powerful Supreme Authority, who is actually shelter of everyone, he provides the protection. So Gajendra until now in this chapter, we understand that he comes to the realization that Krishna is his only shelter. So the next chapter, which we will do the following week, we'll see more deeper into his realization and the prayers of Gajendra, the prayers that he offers. And that's one of the very, very important prayers of Shrimad Bhagwatam. So Prahlad Maharaj, just a few things about this. Prahlad Maharaj also prays, right, in the same mood. What does Prahlad Maharaj pray? We may invent so many ways to be happy or to counteract the dangers of this material world, but unless our attempts are sanctioned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they will never make us happy. O Lord Nrsimha, O Supreme, because of the bodily conception of life, right? What does this mean? Bodily conception of life means understanding that we are bodies, but we are not the bodies, right? Embodied soul, who we are, the real, actually ourselves, the soul, right? Neglects and not cares for you, and you, by you, cannot do anything for their betterment. Whatever remedies they accept, although perhaps temporary, beneficial, are certainly impermanent, right? They are not permanent. For example, a father, mother cannot protect their child. A physician and a medicine cannot relieve the suffering of a patient. A boat on the ocean cannot protect a drowning man, right? So yes, they could be our they could save us to a certain extent in certain situations, but ultimately, when it, try to understand that when it comes to leave the body, nobody other than Krishna can, protect us from that dangerous fear. So Prahlad's mood was the same, right? In this material world, we are at danger at every step. The material world is a place where there is danger at every step. For those who have accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of cosmic manifestation, is famous as Murari, the enemy of Muradimans. So this is another verse quote from Shrimad Bhagwatam, 10th canto, saying that how Lord is our only shelter. So in the next week, we will study more deep. We'll go more deep into these prayers, into this realization that Gajendra has. So that was the second chapter today, and the next week we'll do the third chapter, and then following week we'll do fourth chapter. So within this, we'll come to good understanding of this pastime of Gajendra. So with this, all goes to Srila Prabhupada. We can open up for some questions if anybody has.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji, for a detailed explanation of Gajendra Moksa Stotra. So I request to all the participants who have any question, any realization, please unmute yourself. Mishita.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mishita, do you have any question, Bata?
Yes, Mataji. So like if when if we don't achieve, like if we don't achieve like if we don't attain the Krishna consciousness, like in the next life, will we still like know the stories, or like the stories or Krishna in our next life?
See, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, whatever we have done until now, like whatever we are doing in this life, he protects that. And then if we do not come to that point of perfection, if I understand your question, that what happens if we do not attain the perfection, right, in this life? And if we do not become, if we do not perfect our lives in this lifetime, what happens next, right? Is that what you're trying to ask?
No, like
Mhm.
I'm asking, so like if we don't attain that Krishna consciousness in our next life, will we still remember Krishna and like all the stories, like Prahalad?
Whatever we have done in this lifetime, we will definitely, by Krishna's mercy, we will remember all that, because we are seeing people come with different consciousnesses, right? Some people have so strong faith in Lord. From where does that faith come? Because they've done something in their past life. It has created the sukruti in their past life, and then they will continue from there. So whatever we have done in this life, or whatever we will be able to do in this life, Krishna protects that, and then the soul in the next life carries on their journey until they reach back to Krishna, from that point onwards until that they had finished in this life. So Krishna protects whatever we have, and then Krishna can provide based on our desire to go back to him.
Okay. And Mataji, I have like one more question.
Mhm.
So like the human body is the highest, like the most intelligent body, right?
Yes. Mhm.
So like what is the like after the human body? I mean before the, what is the body that is before the human body?
Before the human body, there are 8.4 million species are
Yeah,
before
like
the human body. So it could be any species of life. Like Gajendra was a king, right? A human body, but then because he had some impurities, although he was very pious, but then he had to take an animal body. So there is not a certain like a set rule of that. And after this you have to take this, but it is a gradual progression based on the consciousness. Like if you see the four types of consciousness. First is the trees, that their consciousness is called covered consciousness. It's like they feel very little. Their senses are, they have feelings also, but their senses are not as developed as human beings, right? So their consciousness is called covered consciousness. Then comes the animals, which their consciousness are called, so sorry, the tree's consciousness is called shrunken consciousness. And then the animal's consciousness is called covered consciousness. And then the human being's consciousness is budding consciousness. It's like buds are there, right? Eventually they are going to bloom. So coming into the human body, it's budding consciousness. They have capability of what? Of blooming into a flower, right? But if we don't utilize that human body, then that capability that's given, that's like if we are doing the same four things in coming into the human body, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, then that's janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi, right? Same things. And so we go through the same cycle, and then we fall into the animal species of life, which is the lower species. It could be anything based on you know the consciousness that we live in at the time when we have to leave the body.
okay, Mataji. I have one more question. So if we
Mishra, we have Nishita, we have several questions. So can we take first those and then we will take to you? Is it okay?
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you, Nishita. I'm so sorry. Suraj?
Mataji, can Sridhara tell?
Yes, Shridhara, you just raise your hand, then I will call you. Okay. Suraj, please raise your hand. Sorry, please unmute yourself.
Yes, Mataji. So, why is a serpent chasing us in time? Like after death, the serpent keeps chasing us. I know that's a serpent of time, so it keeps chasing. Like,
Yes. So
why
it is
is time trying to kill us?
yes, it is. So it is an analogy given. Like time is actually an energy of the Lord, right? Why it is compared to like a serpent, and why is this chasing us? Because see, it's when it comes, how serpent doesn't stop, right? When it sees, is it controllable? It's not controllable. It doesn't stop, right? And eventually it would bite, right? So time is the same similar kind of it has a similar kind of pattern. It doesn't stop. It doesn't we can, nobody can control. Can we say, okay, it is 7:10 now? Can we say, okay, just stop there, 7:10, you cannot go forward? Can we say that? No, because
No.
it is not under our control, right? And what does
Yes.
it mean by why it is chasing us? Because it's not under our control. It moves on regardless of we want it or we don't want it to move. So it's considered like that, and then ultimately it grasps. So the time that we waste in our life, it's gone. It's very valuable to have a human body, first of all, to understand, and then it's very very fortunate to come to this realization that this is our chance to go back to our eternal
Okay.
life where there is no time.
Okay. And also in the animals thing, like about all the species, how come a human body is the best species? Because other animals have many things that humans cannot do.
Yes, like like a dog can listen to a greater frequency or a smaller frequency than human beings, right? Or a cow has a very very different sense. She can sense on everything. Or birds, they can sense the danger from very far, right? So see, those are the things that Lord naturally gives them for their self defense. But try to understand, see, none of those animal bodies have capability to talk, to think what is the right thing. If you see any animal, if you tell them to chant Krishna's name or to try to understand or try to educate them, do they have that capability? No.
No,
So
they
the
don't.
highest capability, although there could be other, capabilities which are like humans don't have, like, deeper listening or sensing the danger. So those capabilities, first of all, are there in the animals because that's a natural way. Lord gives them a way to protect themselves. But for a human being has one special quality that discriminates from the animal, which animal do not have, and that is the highest quality. And that quality is to discriminate between the right thing and the wrong thing. So animals cannot do that discrimination. What is the right thing and what is the wrong thing? So in our shastras it is said, dharme hina pashuvina samana. So without dharma means doing the right thing, to discriminate the wrong and the right, right? That's called dharma. So without that, there is no difference between an animal and a human. So that is the quality that is given to human beings, which is the highest quality. Um, so if you compare this quality with all other qualities that animals have, this is really, really something that stands out or differentiates that. Because of this quality, because of understanding dharma and adhering that dharma in our lives, they can free themselves from this cycle of birth and death, whereas animals cannot. Right? So even if they could have other things that human beings are not capable of doing, but this is something that can free themselves from this cycle of birth and death and even going into these animal bodies. But animals don't have that capability. Now, other things that Krishna gives them is for their self-defense. It's a mechanism that they can defend themselves. So that's the difference.
Okay. Manhar, please unmute yourself. After Manhar, Shri. Manhar.
Okay, so my question is, was Gajendra the king of the elephants?
Yes, Gajendra was the king of the elephants.
Okay, Mataji.
Does anybody have any question?
I have a question.
Yes, Myra.
How was the Bhagavad Gita created?
I could not hear you properly. Can you repeat that a little louder?
How was the Bhagavad Gita created?
Okay, Bhagavad Gita was actually spoken by Lord Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, and it was spoken to Arjuna. I think it is a very detailed narration of how and why Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. But it is suffice to say that Bhagavad Gita was spoken to Arjuna because Arjuna wanted, he was in a dilemma to understand what's the right thing to do, and he takes shelter of Krishna and he asks Krishna, please enlighten me, please tell me what is the right thing to do. He was confused, and Krishna tells Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna to remove his dilemma, to give him knowledge of what is the right thing to do. And Bhagavad Gita teaches us what is the right thing to do at every step of our life. It is not only just merely a scripture that you study, but if we try to study and understand that, we can apply Bhagavad Gita at every step of our life. So Krishna is speaking Bhagavad Gita because he wants us to understand what is the right thing to do and who we really are, and who is Krishna and how we are stuck here. So all that knowledge Arjuna wanted to seek, and Krishna speaks that in Bhagavad Gita, and that's why Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita. And then there are other immediate reasons why and how all that pastimes happen.
I actually that's not actually my question. My question is, like, there are languages like English, Hindi, Spanish, etc. Like, they were created because, like, there was a reason how they were created. So, like, how was Bhagavad Gita created? Like, how did Krishna start speaking Bhagavad Gita? What made him make Bhagavad Gita and, like, talk in Bhagavad Gita?
Mm-hmm. So what made Krishna speak that? To remove the illusion that Arjuna had, and
Yes.
to give him the knowledge.
No,
And that's why.
how was the language created?
So are you saying Sanskrit language?
No. I mean, how was Bhagavad Gita created? What was the story behind Bhagavad Gita being created?
Yeah, there's a long story. So I told you the cause of the Bhagavad Gita being revealed by the Lord, but there is a long story. So maybe you can, in our Bhagavad Gita sessions, we'll cover that at some point.
Okay.
Mhm.
Mishita, do you have your rest of questions? Do you want to ask to Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Like I only have one question. So so when we attain the Krishna consciousness, like do our sins go away? Does Krishna remove the sins, and like are we free of the sins and the karma?
Yes, we are. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja. When we abandon everything else and take shelter of Krishna, mam ekam means only my shelter in that deep faith. Aham sarva papebhyo. Aham means Krishna saying I will. Sarva means everything. Pape means papa. Papa means sins. Papebhyo, I will deliver you from all the sins. Mokshayashyami. And what does Krishna give? Krishna gives freedom from this life of birth and death. This is called moksha, and come to the eternal life. Aham sarva papebhyo mokshayashyami ma sucha. Do not fear. So Krishna assures that do not fear. Just taking my shelter, actually, he can free us from everything. Very
okay.
nice. You should learn this verse. In
Actually,
Bhagavad Gita.
Mataji, I already know this verse.
Very nice. You should learn.
Like this verse is actually at the end of like in Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna spoke. It's actually it's the end of like in
Yes,
every
in the 18th chapter. Yes. Yes. Any other questions?
No,
Not
Mataji,
now, Mataji.
that's it.
Okay. Yes, Nishita, go ahead.
No, Mataji, I was just saying I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Nishita. So, Mataji, we cover all the questions for today's session. So, if you allow, should we wind up our call?
Yes, Mataji, we can with the prayers.
Vancha kaltaruvasya kapasanthu bhayavacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo Vaishnavvrind ki jai. Kiran Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, kids, to participate. Please
Bye,
join
Mataji.
tomorrow
Hare
for
Krishna.
Thank you,
yoga
Mataji.
session.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.